Taurus, I'm Ronique and welcome to Scorpio Soul Time. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to your mid-June through mid-July career tarot reading. This is where we're going to look at the astrological energies of that time, see how you can best use them to your benefit. I would say the biggest event occurring is in your sign. We will have Uranus leaving your sign, Taurus, and moving into Gemini. It has been there for at least the last 7 years. This is just going to be a short stint, and then we will have Uranus return to your sign, and then for good in 26. So that's going to be big, Uranus into Gemini, but we'll also have retrograde season beginning in July. We will have Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, also Chiron at the very end. So if you have big ticket items to buy, if you were trying to apply for a job, if you're trying to hire new staff, if you're trying to acquire new assets, this is the month to do it, okay? July, you could still do it, obviously, but it's going to take more time to get things done, and also communications could be slower. So let's get right into it, Taurus. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love if you would. Check the description box below for all the important dates, and let's start off mid-June. Mid-June finds you with the World card, Major Arcana in the reverse, as well as the Page of Wands. By the time you're getting to the end of June, the Hermit card, Virgo energy there. We will have Mars in Virgo, as well as the Eight of Cups, no longer being fulfilled, moving on to something else more emotionally fulfilling, Taurus. As we move into July, look at that, the Magician card, beautiful to see after that Eight of Cups, as well as the Knight of Cups. And by the time we get to mid-July, we do have the Queen of Swords in the reverse and the Ten of Cups. So happy family at the end of the rainbow. So really beautiful to see there, Taurus. And I do think that there is going to be this almost like a release valve, if you will, once Uranus leaves your sign. But I do think at that 29th degree, you all could see some type of shakeup, which is right around here with that Eight of Cups and Hermit card. So let's go ahead and ask Spirit to send you a card representing the energy you bring into the month of June. Spirit, can you send my Tauruses a card? What energy do they bring into this time? The Seven of Coins. So the Seven of Coins is that card of really honing your skill, really putting in the time, waiting for it to flourish. I do think for some of you all, I do feel like there's a getting out of debt conversation going on here. It's not just about your job, but it's also you've been really being diligent about how to get out of debt or how to acquire more wealth. And I do think that all of that is leading up to a really nice outcome here once we get into probably July and August. But I do feel like this Seven of Coins is like, where is it that you have been putting in the time? And if you haven't, this is the time to really get started, Taurus, to make sure that you can reap the benefits later on. And I do think that many of you all are already on this track, especially with that Ten of Cups at the end, this Magician and that World card, like you all are almost at that finish line. So nice to see. Let's go ahead and ask Spirit to send you an Oracle message card. Spirit, what do you have for my Tauruses for their career? Mid-June through mid-July. Card wanted to come, but didn't fall out. And you have the Three of Swords in reverse. So the Three of Swords is that card of heartache, or possibly being almost like misled, or you're like mentally spent, just not having enough energy to get through whatever the heartbreak is. But with it in reverse, this is symbolizing you getting over something and moving on. This is you no longer feeling heartbreak, you being able to like recognize when it's time to move on. And I do think that this Eight of Cups, Hermit card, there is this responsibility to yourself to move on from something that is no longer working for you, or you're just emotionally no longer connected to that job, that career. That is going to be happening probably here into July. Now, I do think, Taurus, one of the interesting parts of Uranus is that it's unexpected, right? So this could be something that you weren't anticipating. This could come up all of a sudden. So don't think that you have the warning signs and you know what's going to happen in the future. And I do think as we come into this reading, mid-June, we do have Jupiter in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries, as well as Mars in Leo squaring Uranus in Taurus. So during the mid-June, you could have had some type of tension in the workplace. I do feel like some of you all have been sensing that there's an ending occurring, but at the same time, some of you are also shopping around. I feel like that Page of Wands is like you have been putting out your resume in other areas, other industries, other companies. But I also feel like someone comes to you during mid-June, maybe around when Mars enters Virgo. And it's kind of like, what is it that you need to be getting together? Mars in Virgo is like, where is it that you need to put more attention to the details? Paying attention to your resume, cleaning it up, maybe doing a whole new resume, maybe getting into some new industry that you've been interested in. There's something here where you're feeling better about almost like a side thing that you're doing kind of like undercover where no one really knows what you're doing. And I do think the sun entering Cancer at that summer solstice on June 20th highlights some new opportunity for you that you could be stepping into once we move through the end of June and into July. So really pay attention to any kind of networking. Make sure you are putting your name out there to people who you trust, just saying, hey, if you see any openings at your company, I definitely think that is occurring mid to late June. Now, by the time we move into the last weeks of June, this is when we have June 22nd, Sun in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries, and Sun in Cancer squaring Neptune in Aries. So this huge Aries conversation going on is going to be people being really fiery, possibly conversations that people do not want to get into. And I do think that by time we get to that Cancer new moon on June 25th, you are looking at your career in a whole different light. You're like, I haven't spent any time with my family. I haven't spent any time just my own time. And I do feel like some of you are like, it's me time. It's time for me to focus on myself, not just the job, not just my clients. I feel like some of you are almost retreating from the work world for a little while towards that Cancer new moon, putting more time into yourself. And I do think some of you are going to be moving away, possibly leaving a company, a current position. Mercury entering Leo on the 26th is like conversations around courage, giving you the courage to be able to speak up and say, you know what, this is no longer working for me. I need to emotionally withdraw and move on to something more fulfilling. And I do think that by the time we get into the end of June, when Mercury in Leo enters retrograde shadow, this is when Mercury is starting to slow down. So you might start having these conversations, but it's not as easy to have the courage to speak up. So make sure you're doing it when you feel it and not waiting all the way until the end of July when Mercury actually retrogrades. Okay, so really important message there, Taurus. Now, by the time we move into July, look at this, the Magician, Knight of Cups. This is beautiful energy here as we enter into July. For my USA friends, July 4th week is going to be a little tense. And I say that because June 4th, Neptune turns retrograde in Aries. We also have Venus conjunct Uranus in your sign at that 29th degree. So this is big financial news. This could be on the world stage, but it also could be at your company. But there's something here where you are like taking charge. You're like, you know what? I'm not worried about what's going on the news. I'm taking control of my own life. And someone offers you some emotional support, which is really nice. And I do think that July 4th, also we have Venus entering Gemini. And right around this time is July 7th, Uranus enters Gemini. So now this is like this kind of tense time, I do think, for you all, especially Taurus, because there's going to be some unexpected news that could pop up, and it could take a while to trickle down because of that holiday. Okay, so I do think that Knight of Cups, Magician, just keep yourself grounded, making sure you're focusing on you and not everybody else. I think that's going to be really important for you, Taurus. Okay, so we end this reading at mid-July. Queen of Swords in reverse, 10 of Cups. whatever kind of conversation went down, possibly, like I said, around that, Uranus changing signs, I do think that there's this opportunity for you to still feel so good about yourself. Capricorn full moon on July 10th highlights your goals, highlights what you have accomplished. You all are feeling so good now. And I do think that whatever that Queen of Swords is, this feels to me like you hear about something at your old job that you left there with that Eight of Cups, that they were like starting to fire people, or some kind of news was going out, but you're no longer worried about it because you've moved on. You're now feeling better with your family. Saturn does retrograde in Aries on July 13th, and then we will have Mercury retrograde beginning in Leo on the 18th. So by time we are getting to the, third week of July, make sure you are feeling good about your choices. Make sure you're not still holding on for somebody else. You're not sticking around at a job that no longer serves you. I do think if you can do that, this 10 of Cups is showing some type of happy family news by the time we get to the end of July. So really nice to see, Taurus. I do think this is going to be, it's kind of like one of those times that you can have some really out of the blue good news, but then I'm not going to lie, it could be some unfortunate news. But I do think whatever it is, it's like it serves you better in the future. That Magician card after that Eight of Cups is like some type of turn of events occurs after you leave. So please take a look at your own career, figure out where it is that you want to be. I think this time for you, Taurus, is really crucial with Uranus now moving out of your sign. Look at the events that occur during this time because they are pivotal, and will probably come back in 26 when Uranus finally, so we're going to have a little retrograde action here at some time, and then Uranus enters Gemini until November 7th. So you all have until November to see what happens in Gemini, and then Uranus will return to your sign for a little while in 26. So hope this is helpful for you, Taurus. Take a look at your sun, moon, and rising signs, and I'll talk to you later.